Good morning, everyone. I'm Sherry Tischer with TCI Business Capital, and joining me today is Robin Fisher, founder and owner of Action Staffing Solutions. We're here to share Robin's success story and how she grew her business by finding the right business and maximizing her cash flow. Before jumping into the meat of our discussion, I thought it would be a good idea just to share a little bit about each of our organizations. So TCI Business Capital is a division of the privately held Fidelity Bank in Minnesota. We've been in business since 1994, and we provide payroll funding to businesses nationwide. We do have a staffing industry practice, and we offer packaged solutions with other industry vendors who provide payroll processing and staffing software. As I mentioned, joining me today is Robin Fisher. She founded Action Staffing Solutions in 2008, and they are headquartered right here in Colorado. Robin has made it happen since she started her business. She has been recognized in the Inc. Magazine 5000 list and the Mercury 100 list for the fastest growing privately held companies. Not only that, but she has been recognized in Forbes magazine on 5 different occasions. Robin, before we jump into the next slide, I'd like you to just share with us a little bit about your staffing background and why you decided to start your own company.
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. So I actually worked for an international large staffing agency, and we all know large staffing agencies sometimes have some restraints when it comes to really helping your client. So I wanted to diversify, and that's when I left and started my own staffing agency, and I love it.
Thank you. What we're going to talk about today are these 4 learning objectives up on the screen. And whether you are new to staffing, no matter what your role is, if you've been in business for a long time, you're sure to learn some valuable tips from Robin. So we'll talk about overcoming startup challenges. We'll talk about your internal team and some tips that Robin has. We'll talk about finding your niche, and then finally cash flow needed for growth. I know when most people start their own staffing agencies, they often do it because they know and they love the core competency of our business, getting an order and filling an order. But as Robin discovered when she started her own agency in 2008, there's so much more to it. There's a lot of infrastructure and business decisions that need to be made in addition to filling orders, getting orders and filling orders. So Robin, I'll let you take it from here.
Awesome. So the first thing you want to do is you have to be comfortable with taking the risk, and you have to know before you go into it that you're the last one paid. It was a year before I got my first paycheck because you have to make sure your entire staff is paid first. You want to find a great mentor through SBA, your local SBDC, or even another business owner. Do your research. This is probably key for this, so make sure that you're doing your research on what you're going to need to successfully run your business, vendors, things like that. Make sure when you're putting your spreadsheet together that you don't leave out any cost, because to my unknown surprise, I realized that insurance was the most expensive part of staffing. You don't always know that until you get into it and your work comp starts to go up for professional general liability. And then last, and probably the most important, guys, when I went to go start Action Staffing, I went to SBA, I went to the bank, and I said, I want a loan for $1 million to start my own business. I couldn't get a loan for $1 million because I didn't have an extra $1 million in my back pocket. So they won't give you the loan unless you have the money. So factoring, payroll funding made sense for me. It allowed me to start my business up very quickly and to still maintain cash flow within the business on the other side. So TCI, awesome. Please make sure that you guys do your research. Get referrals, get references on whoever it is you're going to use for the funding, because there are some not so reputable companies out there.
And I think you could say the same, like for any industry vendor, right? Like you want to make sure that you're asking for advice on software and background checks and all of those types of infrastructure items.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Robin. Moving on to internal team, because I think any leader out there would say that they got where they got because of the internal team that they have in place. Prior to joining TCI Business Capital, I spent 15 years in staffing myself. And when I was with Spherion, the president of our organization at the time, Ray Marcy, gave a presentation that I'll never forget. And it was called The 6 Common Denominators of Great Companies. One of those 6 common denominators was great employees, great everywhere, which really spoke to making sure that you've got processes and best practices in place. So whether you have 2 employees, 20 employees, or 200, whether your employees are sitting in one geography or they're spread around the nation, that you've got those processes in place so you can say as an organization you have great employees, great everywhere. One of the other 6 common denominators that Ray often talked about was employees are truly empowered. And I know this speaks a lot to your own philosophy, Robin, and the way you lead and manage your team. So I'm going to let you take it from here.
It does. One of the first things is that you have to get out of your own way. You have to empower your employees. You cannot micromanage. You have to hire the right fit, the right people, and you have to trust them. You have to respect them, and there has to be the values that you both appreciate. So make sure that you've got the right fit, because you can train somebody on all the skills that you need to be a good recruiter or whatever role it is within the organization. You can't give somebody a personality or what their heart's desire is. I mean, if they have a good heart, you can train them, teach them anything.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you've used a couple of books and
Yes.
strategies like that.
So some of the good reads, and I don't know if you guys want to listen to this later or write them down, but Simon Sinek does TED Talks. Watch those and figure out what your why is. One of his newer books is Leaders Eat Last. And it kind of goes over how your employees want to be treated as a leader, how you need to lead by example versus say what I do and not as you guys get it. So another one. This was probably, the most life-changing book and business course that I ever took. And we're not related. Even though the author's name is James Fisher, it's The Growth Curve. And it gives you strategies on how to start and organize your business and actually really have, you need to have buckets, which then easily rolls us into
Yep, finding your niche, yeah.
pick your niche.
And I remember back in the day when I first started out in staffing, our philosophy was, fill every order within an organization, right? General staffing, fill everything that you can get. And it just seems like over the past several years, specialization has been more of the business strategy that's been successful and a lot of business owners have embraced. So Robin, if you wouldn't mind, talking to the audience about how you picked your niche, why you picked the niche that you did.
So since I started Action Staffing, when you first start your staffing agency, you do take everything you can get, but then you have to kind of restructure your business model so that you find your specialty. So what is it that you're passionate about within the staffing industry? For us, we chose federal government. We went and got all of our necessary certifications. We chose medical, commercial, and we do professional direct hire. So you really can't have your hands in everything and grow successfully, because you will reach a plateau where your growth goes flat. So as you're growing your business, revisit your business model, sit down and reevaluate. Is this successful? Is this profitable? Am I going in the right direction? And don't be afraid to revisit it, because we completely restructured our staffing agency in 2016, and now we're making 300% more in revenue than we were in 2016.
And really all because you decided to focus more on a certain niche. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Okay. Let's move on to our fourth learning objective, which is cash flow needed for growth. And when Robin and I talked, earlier, she shared stories about how when she first opened up her staffing agency, she had drained her savings account. She was using credit cards to run her business. We even have staffing owners coming to us looking for funding who have PayPal accounts that they're using to try to manage their cash flow. Robin tried but failed to get a line of credit from a bank when she first started out her agency, and she ended up landing on payroll funding as her way to manage her cash flow. And for those in the audience who aren't familiar with what payroll funding is, I'll just take a pause and do a really brief explanation of it. Oftentimes, the term payroll funding is used interchangeably with receivables financing or invoice factoring. It's essentially leveraging your accounts receivables to get immediate cash. So rather than waiting for your client companies to pay you in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, you use a company like ours to buy your receivables. You get the immediate cash for those receivables. When your client company pays us for the invoice, then that's when we in turn pay you the remaining balance minus our funding fees. Because when we buy your receivables, we typically start out by giving you a 90% advance. So that's why when your client company pays us, then you're owed that extra 10% minus our fees. And Robin started out using funding, and still to this day, after 13 years in business, it continues to be a good solution for her. So maybe share with the group why it still works for you, why you feel like it benefits your organization and helps you continue to grow.
So there are a lot of things involved with that statement, because at the end of the day, when you walk into a bank now, you're a number. They don't always know your name unless you've been there forever. Lines of credit are extremely, well, they're not extremely, but I would say on average about 2% higher through a bank. TCI offers HR support, AR collections. Their customer service is amazing. So we love these guys, honestly. So I can call the vice president of TCI and he answers my call. He answers my questions. These guys are all amazing. Customer service is key, and relationships, and we value each other. They always have my back. And remember, if you have your customers' back, they will always have yours.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
We'll conclude our presentation now. If you have any questions, my contact information is up on the screen. Robin's is right here. Otherwise, we'll be back at our booth down aisle 800, and you can stop by and register to win some giveaways and pick up some swag items, and we'll talk to you there. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.